Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm Arun Vijayaraghavan, Principal Product Manager for SDK and Connectors. And with me today is Senior Developer Advocate, Eric Pichard. Our goal today is to introduce you to Ottoman, a framework that will help you with developer productivity in a most sophisticated way. Although this session is pre-recorded, Eric and I are available to answer any questions that you may have. Let's look at the agenda for today. We'll begin with a very high-level introduction to Ottoman, followed by a common question that you may have. Why Ottoman and what's in there for me? We'll then look at some of the salient features that complements the reason behind using Ottoman. Next, we'll walk you through our thought process on taking Ottoman to the next level. Last but not the least, you will see Ottoman in action with a demo by Eric. Without further delay, let's begin. This is a very high-level description of what Ottoman is. Let us simplify it a bit by breaking it down further. First, let's try to understand what an ODM or object data mapper means. We know for a fact that Couchbase can store any type of documents. However, most of the use case ends up being JSON document. It's also common that most modern web applications are built using JavaScript and has some kind of abstraction to access data from a database. Considering these, what's needed is a framework that can connect the web applications to the backend stored JSON document in a seamless and user-friendly way. Ottoman does this for you. It binds client application objects to JSON documents stored in Couchbase. Moving on to the next statement, what does it mean when we say Ottoman is powered by Node.js SDK? Ottoman sits on top of Couchbase Node.js SDK. So ideally, the Node.js SDK is what that communicates with Couchbase. Ottoman encapsulates a lot of underlying complexity for you, which otherwise would take a lot of time to build. We will talk more about these in the upcoming slides. Lastly, Ottoman is written to provide support to the most popular and emerging languages, that is JavaScript and TypeScript. A typical or a legacy web application stack usually consists of a front-end application framework that's hosted by a web framework like Express, powered by a runtime like Node.js, and often backed by a NoSQL data store like Couchbase. Usually, in this type of application framework, your application is tightly coupled with a database, and there are several tools that are used to maintain consistency between application layer and the database. This is a coupled architecture and is often hard to maintain and debug. What can help you here is a tool or framework that can be a liaison between your application and database. What you see here is an ideal or modern web application architecture, and Ottoman is that one tool that we just talked about. Ottoman plays very well with Couchbase and Node.js and can work with most JavaScript-based framework. It sits on top of Couchbase's Node.js SDK and interacts with Couchbase database, either using key value or nickel query operations, providing seamless and decoupled integration with your client application framework. So far, we looked at Ottoman from a macro level. Let's now look to see why Ottoman is important by analyzing its capabilities through what we call the 6 lities. Adaptability. As we saw earlier, Ottoman is written using both TypeScript and JavaScript. JavaScript is no alien programming language. In fact, it's the most common and popular programming language that's been around for decades, and many of us are familiar with. It's also a de facto standard of the web. On the other hand, TypeScript is an emerging language. These facts are backed by a couple of survey results that you see here. Out of 31,000 developers that participated in a JetBrains survey this year, JavaScript and TypeScript were the most popular programming language that developers plan to adopt and learn. Stack Overflow ranked JavaScript as the most used programming language for the 9th consecutive year. Year on year, GitHub users experience most developer activities with respect to JavaScript, with approximately 3.9 million activities so far this year. Isn't that truly amazing? Affordability. Ottoman is an open source, so obviously it's free. Additionally, you automatically reap the benefits of using an open source software. According to a managed open source survey by Tidelift conducted last year across small and larger organizations, over 600 people shared how and why they would use open source software today. About 2/3 of the respondents who are leaning towards open source, that it helps them save money and development time by using existing open source components versus writing brand new code. This helps developers move more quickly because they can choose from billions of lines of code that have been already written versus having to start from scratch. The third most important benefit of using an open source chosen by 40% of the respondents was eliminating vendor lock-in. Clearly, more organizations are turning to open source as a way to replace expensive proprietary software and gain more control over future expenditures. Supportability. Open source also, of course, comes with its own set of challenges. Titled survey also reflected two major challenges with open source. About 49% of the respondents cited identifying and resolving security vulnerabilities as a major issue, while about 62% of the respondents had concerns around upgrades of components and frameworks. Supportability addresses both of these concerns. Ottoman provides 24/7 enterprise customer support. Code is frequently scanned for vulnerabilities and licensing compliances. Let's now see how the other concern around upgrades is handled. Sustainability is an extension of supportability. As per a recent Synopsys survey, out of 1,500 plus code base that was scanned, 90% of those were not upgraded and were stale for about 2 years. Complementing this finding, another survey conducted by Tidal, it was found that developers spend about 20% of their time maintaining an open source code. Ottoman is fully maintained and is frequently updated to match the server features and for bug fixes. This not only saves development time, but it also increases confidence and productivity amongst developers. Agility. With Ottoman, you can write code that's shorter, simpler, easy to maintain, test, and debug. As an example, on your left, you see code written in Ottoman, and on your right, you see code written using regular Node.js SDK. The goal is the same: find a document from the database and update it. The very first thing that you would have noticed is the number of lines of code. Ottoman cuts down the code by almost half. The other important thing that you would have seen is the missing nickel query. Every other complexity is seamlessly handled by Ottoman under the hood. So what does this give you? Faster time to market, right? Rapid time to market is important for the success for many companies. It gives companies competitive advantage of getting to market sooner. It lowers financial risk and results in greater profits. When it comes to agility, it goes without saying that Ottoman is the most preferred choice. Data quality. This is the last among the 6 utilities we have been discussing. Let's see what concerns does data quality address through the 5 attributes of data quality. Coherence. How easy is it to find the data? Accuracy. How close is the data to reality? Orderliness. Is the data in the right shape and format? Auditability. Can the changes be tracked? Completeness. Can the data be interpreted? Having these basic characteristics of data in place is very important, and let's see why. Improved data quality leads to better decision-making across organizations. Not only that, it increases profitability and gives competitive advantage over other competitors, but it also results in better ROIs. Not maintaining good quality can have financial impacts. According to a Gartner survey, organization ends up spending $9.7 million per year fixing poor data quality issues. Productivity challenges. Forbes reported that data scientists spend nearly 60% of their time cleaning up on data. And on the other hand, Forrester reported that nearly 1/3 of the analysts spends 40% of their time validating data before making any strategic decision. Not always impact has a monetary value tag to it. Organizations can run into reputational losses, which can take ages to be repaired. So how do we ensure data quality? The answer to this is data integrity. If you are a user building or using an existing JavaScript-based application supported by a relational database and are planning to move to Couchbase, you should be happy to know that most of the data integrity constructs that a relational database offers are matched or exceeded by some of the Ottoman features. What you see here is a mapping between data integrity and the data quality, and a comparison between relational database as to how we can achieve everything via Ottoman. We'll take a look at some of these features in the upcoming slides. So hang on. All features implicitly ships with these 4 lities or abilities: adaptability, supportability, sustainability, and affordability. Let's now explore some of the key features and how they relate to data quality and agility. Schemas and models are the starting point in Ottoman. Identifying and defining schemas and models is the most critical element in building applications using Ottoman. Schemas define the structure or shape of a document and provides a way to associate data integrity capabilities like validators, constraints, hooks, or triggers. Model, on the other hand, instructs where a document is stored, which collection and scope within Couchbase bucket that it's stored, and how smart can I access the saved data. Document is the instance of model and is the smallest unit in the object hierarchy. A document here refers to a JSON document. In a nutshell, schemas and model provides data quality. Model methods are means to manage data within Couchbase. At a very high level, they allow you to perform basic CRUD operations on JSON documents. Model methods hides a lot of underlying complexity by providing simplified interface that's easy to use and learn. This saves a lot of time with respect to writing code from scratch, helps accelerate development, and saves you time from maintenance overhead. Getting to know model methods. Some model methods are backed by key value operations and are summed by nickel query. Find one, as you see here, is a method that is backed by nickel query and finds the first document matching a given filter criteria. It is important to have the right set of global secondary indexes in place before using a nickel-backed model method. Ottoman offers you ways to create global secondary indexes. Please refer to our documentations for further information. By now, you might have guessed it right. Model method gives you agility. Designating a field as immutable preserves the original value and prevents any mutation on the designated fields. This is especially useful when you want to protect a field from being updated. Immutable fields are simply ignored during updates. However, this behavior can be overridden at the time of performing the operation. As an example, our intention here is to prevent the type field from being updated and is therefore attributed as immutable. Updating a document by passing in new values for the types and country fields ends up updating the country field alone as seen in the output. This feature gives you both data quality and agility. Timestamps provides audit capabilities. When enabled, it instructs Ottoman to automatically add a created at and updated at field, defaulting their values to current date and time. Created at is immutable. That is, it sets only once when creating a document, while updated at, on the other hand, is updated every time the document is mutated. Timestamps exhibits auditability attribute of data quality. If you're familiar with relational databases, you would have come across the term triggers. Hooks are similar to triggers. They help with data integrity. Hooks in Ottoman are middleware asynchronous functions you write, and then register these functions with predefined events that you might want to act upon either before or after the event is triggered. Shown here is an asynchronous function that converts the name to a lowercase. This function is registered to the document save event bound to a pre-hook. That is, the function gets called every time before a document is saved to the database. Some common use case for hooks are logging, cleaning up of resources, sending notifications, managed related document. Say, for example, if you have a customer document that you want to remove, and at that also you would want to remove its associated documents, you can use a hook. Hooks are available as pre and post hooks, similar to before and after trigger, and can be bundled as a plugin that can be used across projects. Hooks helps with data quality and agility. Out of the box, Ottoman comes with default schema types like string, number, boolean, date, etc. However, there are times when you might want to build a custom type that is reusable and well-defined. For example, say you want to build a website URL. What choices do you have? The only choice that's available is a string. There's nothing wrong with choosing a string. However, the caveat is that there's no guarantee that the website URL is well-formed. This is a typical use case where you should go with a custom data type. Creation of a custom data type is simple and is a three-step process. Define. This is where you define the behavior of your data type. Register. You instruct Ottoman to remember this type. Use. Finally, you use the type. What you witness is how a document is saved with a well-formed URL. Custom type attributes towards data quality and agility. Constraints and custom validators ensure data accuracy. Constraints not only limits the value that a field can store, it can also ensure that a field is mandatory and cannot be left empty. Now, there are times when checking for the integrity of a field goes beyond the use of basic constraints like default, min, max, or schema types. For instance, you might want to declare a field which is an array of string and restrict its length. You can do this by creating a custom validator function, associating it with the field using the validator keyword. In this example, we don't want to use user to provide more than 2 phone numbers. The way you restrict this is by using a custom validator. Constraints and validators are evaluated automatically every time a document is saved. Both custom validators and constraints brings data quality and agility to the table. Data modeling, sometimes referred to as document design in the world of NoSQL database, plays a significant role in managing data. In relational database, data is stored in tables, and the relationship between tables are managed by referential keys, also known as foreign keys. In Couchbase, data of similar types is stored within the same collections, and they refer to other documents using document key or simple key. When documents are designed this way, Ottoman not only provides the means to refer them during schema design, but also automatically populates them using the populate method. The ref keyword is used to refer another document or model. As seen in this example, route schema has a reference to airline. The parent document simply stores the ID of the referencing document. Later, a call to the populate method on the model populates the reference document. Document references can be nested. By default, Ottoman populates method will populate first level references only, but you can increase the nesting level by setting the populate max deep option. While populating a document, you can also choose to select fields that may interest you. References and populate brings in data quality and agility. Query Builder is one of the most distinguished and powerful features in Ottoman. Writing NQL query is not everybody's cup of tea. If you're not familiar with NQL, learning a new language can be at times stressful. Well, that's no longer a problem. Query Builder helps build NQL queries for you. All you need to know is JavaScript, and the more you use Query Builder, the more you will start getting yourself familiar with NQL. There are 3 ways you can build NQL queries. Using parameters, here you define the parameter and pass the parameters. Using access functions, in this case, you don't pass in any parameters. Instead, you use access functions like select, let, where, limit, etc. Mixed mode lets you choose parameter way or access way, functions way, or even both. Finally, calling the build method generates a NQL statement. Whichever way you choose to build NQL queries, the result is going to be always the same. Coming from a JavaScript background, we believe that this will make development and learning NQL easier and faster. And of course, this gives you agility. Now let's see what we have been thinking about in terms of future of Ottoman. Some of the initiatives are around extending data quality, where we want to provide data governance using field-level encryption. Enhance management API and query builders for test coverage. Our vision is to take Ottoman to the next level in building GraphQL plugins that can serve GraphQL API. Although we are still reviewing some of these features, we would like to hear from you what you think would benefit taking Ottoman to the next level. Now over to Eric for a demo.
All right, thanks, Arun. Again, my name is Eric Bichard, and I'm a senior developer advocate here at Couchbase. So Arun went over with you some of the what and why of Ottoman.js. And so now we want to show you how you can get started and get your hands on the new Ottoman version 2.0. So we've compiled some resources for you at this link here. I'll give you a second here to take a screenshot of this. So it's bit.ly/Ottoman.js. And if you go here, this is going to take you to a repository of mine where we have a demo set up that cuts to the chase, only the code really needed to show you how to set up an Ottoman.js project with what we think are the best practices. We're using Express.js and TypeScript, and we think that that's a pretty modern way of doing it and that most people will gravitate towards. So let's go ahead and take a look at, if you go to this link right here, what that's going to pull up for you. So when you visit that link, you'll find a README file that has some basic information on how to set up Couchbase server using Docker. You'll also see how to set up a cluster name and the username, password, and stuff that we're using along with this project. And then you'll set up an empty bucket called travel-API. Next, we have some resources here, Ottoman.js.com. That's where you can find all of our documentation. Introducing Ottoman version 2.0, which is a blog post that we released on September 30th of 2021, which is the same day that we released Ottoman version 2.0. A better developer experience with Ottoman.js. Now, this is a talk that I did at JavaScript and Friends, which is a longer version of working with this specific demo application that we're showing off here. And that's going to be better if you want to go take a look at that, because we only have about 10 minutes here to show you around and show you some of the different resources. But if you go take a look at that, then you can spend about 30 minutes or so and have a real good overview of what's all included in this demo. Next is some official demos that we have. Now, these are very similar to the same demo that I'm showing you here, except one is a vanilla JavaScript demo and one is a TypeScript demo. And both of them use the travel sample data set that comes along with Couchbase Server. I was telling you that this demo here uses an empty bucket rather than the travel sample data set. And the reason for that is we're able to create some models. Like we have airlines, airports, flight paths, and hotels. Those demos have kind of the same setup, but the models are much more complex. And we thought, we can get rid of some of the complexity of these different models and just, like I said, get right to the point of building a REST API using Ottoman.js. And we also don't include anything in here like Swagger documentation. It just adds to the code, and it creates more of a distraction than kind of showing you exactly how to set up your project. But what I do want to show you in this directory structure here, first is this Connect Examples folder. So if you open this up, you're going to find all the different code samples that are very similar to the slides that Arun was showing you earlier during his portion of the presentation. How to create and save a document, how to find by ref index, how to do validation, query parameters, query builder using parameters, access functions, and mixed mode. Again, kind of all the stuff that he went over with you earlier. So that's in there. Also, we have this data folder. So in this data folder, you can get a good look at what the different documents are that we're saving to the database with each of these different API endpoints here. So we have airlines, which again is very simple, just a few properties in it. We have airports, very simple. We've kind of simplified the geolocation stuff here and got rid of some properties. Flight paths, this is pretty much the same as you would have found in the other project. And then hotels, again, kind of stripped down just to the absolute necessary properties that are needed. Again, all of this kind of makes for being able to get in and take a look at this demo and work with Couchbase and Ottoman together in a very simple way without a lot of extra fluff added in. Finally, down here, you'll see a Postman collection. So if you import this Postman collection into Postman, what you're going to get is a project that looks a lot like this. You have this folder here called Travel API. And inside there, you're going to have a different folder for each of the different set of documents that you want to be able to add to Couchbase. We have airlines, and notice we'll have kind of a post, get, put, patch, and delete for every single one of these. So we've got airlines. And if we take a look at like get all airlines and go ahead and run that, you'll see here, we're searching for United, but if we take that off, we can see that we're getting all of the airlines back that we have. Airports. So we have, I think, 8 different airports in the Bay Area and Los Angeles entered in here. And between the 2 of those, that's kind of how you create a flight path. So these 3 types of documents are associated together or related with each other. And then we also have another one here, hotels, that is kind of on its own. Again, we've added just the stuff that you need so that you can build a REST API at its bare minimum and kind of see how an entire project works. You can import the Postman collections and play around with it. In fact, if you take like the airlines here, once you have that Postman collection up and just copy these little documents in and put them over here into, let's see, the airline post, you could put that in. And now you could send that. I'm just going to create an extra one here. So now we've got 2 United Airlines. But anyways, that kind of gets you up and started with Ottoman.js and Postman. Couple more minutes to go here. So let's take a look real quick at the Ottoman global config. This is where you set up the kind of defaults for your entire project. So we have collection name as default. In other words, we're really not setting it at the project level, but scope name we are. The cool thing with Ottoman is you can set up these defaults either at the project level or at the model level and override them. So the model level will always override the project level. So that's something cool we have there. And then key generator delimiter. So when you create a document with Ottoman, what do the actual document keys look like? And so here we see hotel_1, and that is because we are using a delimiter of underscore. And we've also decided to actually add our own ID numbers. But if you didn't have this ID number, then Ottoman would generate a hash for you, a unique hash for all of your different documents. I think that's about it for the global config. There are a few more options that you could use there. We have an index.ts. This is where we have we're importing all of our different controllers, and we're connecting to Couchbase. We have an app.ts, which is the basic setup of your Express application, a shared folder, which has your custom routes. So we have a get by ID, post, patch, put, and delete. This is all the different endpoints for each of the different controllers, and the link type, which Arun showed you earlier. This is how you can create your own type in Ottoman.js. This one specifically creates a type for a URL so that you can kind of, instead of having a string, you can have your own type that is of URL, and it will also kind of validate so that a bad URL doesn't get put in. You could also use like a phone number type or something like that here. Geolocation schema, the routes, and then the controller type. Again, this is all just shared files so that you can kind of optimize the creation of your Express application in Ottoman, in conjunction with Ottoman. So the last thing here is that in order to get set up with an Ottoman project, you basically just need to install, in our case, Express and then Ottoman. That's it. You don't have to install Couchbase. Ottoman uses Couchbase Node.js SDK under the hood. That's about all the time that I have, but I do want to thank you guys for coming out and kind of taking the time with us. I will go ahead and show you this one more time. And again, my name is Eric Bouchard, again, Senior Developer Advocate here at Couchbase. I work with Node.js. My job is to help you guys. If you want to DM me on Twitter at httpjunkie, that's also in that README file, then I can hop online with you if you need to. If you have any problems, if you need help getting started with Ottoman, we're there for you. Arun's name is in there too. You can contact him if needed. And I just want to say thank you for coming to our talk, and have a wonderful time at Connect 2021.